Since our last episode, the Supreme Court announced that they have overturned Roe v. Wade, a ruling that has been in place for nearly 50 years. This would end up sparking thousands of protests throughout the country about the decision. In response to the breaking news, Malcolm Jamal Warner would share a post on Instagram featuring educator and activist Jane Elliott, who spoke on the book The Birth Dirt by Ben Wattenberg. According to Elliott, the book says that one of the #1 problems in the United States is that there aren't enough white babies. One solution to the problem is to stop women from having abortions because 60% of the fetus aborted are white. At the end of the video, Elliott would ask her listeners, does that sound like racism to you? Today we have our comedy hype analysts, Vanessa Fraction, Capone, and Pierre calling in to give their thoughts and reactions. Pierre, I want to go ahead and kick things off with you. When you first heard, the ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade, what was your reaction?
Not shocked. It was laid out a while back, and it was laid out in 2016 when folks didn't want to vote for Hillary. Thought she was a crook and whatever it was, and let Donald Trump slide through. You knew what he was about, and I knew it back then that this has been a hot topic. Abortions have been a hot topic for years and years, even 50 years ago when it first was established that women can have pro-choice. People wanted to change it, and they just had to find the right person. And Trump was the right person, that he was going to put some people in the Supreme Court that knew was going to be conservative and going to overturn it. So I wasn't surprised. So now look at those folks who were like, man, Hillary's a crook. I don't trust Hillary. I don't trust Hillary. All right, well, look where you at now with it. It just it was inevitable.
Vanessa, I want to get your reactions as well. When you first heard of the ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade, what was your reaction?
My reaction, I was saddened by it and glad that I wasn't in the category of really having to think about that. I'm glad I'm 42 and married and had kids already. And, because that's not, I guess what I'm saying is that it's a lot. Everyone has, talked about how tragic it is and how it's mostly men that are making these kinds of decisions about a woman's body. They're very, very important and private decisions. So it was just a very sad day for the United States in general. You know what I mean? And now you have people that have different agendas that are trying to make, again, these very, very serious decisions about women's health. And it's not even about really women's health. So it's just sad, I guess it would be the answer to how I felt.
Capone, I bring that same question to you. What was your reaction when you first heard of this ruling being overturned?
It didn't shock me. Like Pierre said, this has been in an agenda for quite some time. And they just waited. I don't know if it was Trump that did it, but it's definitely being done on the Biden's watch. And everything else that's being done that's kind of messing us up is on the Biden's watch. And so, no, I wasn't shocked at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people share that same sentiment of not being shocked. As I mentioned, Malcolm Jamal Warner would share a post on his Instagram featuring educator and activist Jane Elliott. So I want to take a look at that and then come back and get your reactions.
White people are really frightened. If you don't understand the destruction of Planned Parenthood offices, and you don't understand the wall that we're going to build on the southern border of the United States, you haven't read the book The Birth Dearth by Ben Wattenberg. Ben Wattenberg was a brilliant Jewish man who was a member of the American Enterprise Institute, and he wrote a book, the first paragraph of which says, "The main problem confronting the United States today is there aren't enough white babies being born in this country." He was an advisor to presidents of the United States. He wrote the book in 1987. He says if we don't change this and change it rapidly, white people will lose their numerical majority in this country, and this will no longer be a white man's land. Now, I'm not misrepresenting this. I'm telling you almost exactly what he says. He says there are 3 things we can do to solve this. Number 1, we could pay women to have babies, as they have been doing in Western European nations for years. Then he says, and these are his words, not mine, unfortunately, we would have to pay women of all colors to have babies, so we don't want to do that. He says the second thing we could do is increase the number of legal immigrants that are allowed into this country every year. Then once again, he says, unfortunately, the vast majority of those wanting to come to this country today are people of color, so we don't want to do that. The third thing he says, and women had better pay attention to this, 60% of the fetuses that are aborted every year are white. If we could keep that 60% alive, that would solve our birth dearth. Does that sound like racism to you?
Now, Malcolm would follow that up with a post that says, and his caption reads, "The big picture real end game. If the obsession with overturning Roe versus Wade didn't make sense before, now it should. If you haven't seen my last post, it explains the why. The self-preservation goals are real. You may not be able to afford the $500 book, The Birth Dirt, but you can afford Dr. Cress Westling's The ISIS Papers." So, Pierre, I want to come to you firstly, of course, to get your reaction to the video. But do you agree or disagree with Malcolm Jamal Warner, suggesting that the bigger picture is to preserve white race?
Well, Well, I agree with him, but I agree with my mama too. You know, she said it first. You saw what she said. She spoke fluently. That's my mother. For some of y'all don't know, she knew what time it was. So you can say I ain't. That's my white side right there. You know, Jane, my mama Jane. But no, it's exactly right. I mean, I believe this was the first year that the white growth didn't grow as fast as it's expected in the United States. And that just shows you they needed more, you know, they need more white people because white people are becoming the minority. They were in majorities for a long time now, slipping with brown and black people coming into this country. And just, you know, black people having more kids, not being able to afford abortions like white people can. White women can afford abortions more. And now they're trying to stop that because they can afford it. You know, those are the ones that can afford it. So they're trying to make sure they can't have them. And yeah, you'll see they're trying to get the white population to grow up in it. I mean, look who's making those decisions. You know, 90% of people running in Congress is white, you know, so, and, you know, a lot of percentage of men. So they want their legacy and their lineage to continue to grow and stay white in America. Make white, you know, America be a white place instead of a multicultural place, which it should be, because everybody came in here that wasn't from here except the Indians. And so the white man decided, I want to be white and continue to be white. And that's what they're fighting for so hard. And this is Trump is a perfect example of what he's trying to show. Look at Trump's family. They're just trying to be that. They're trying to have that white be right and run this country. And so what she said is on point, and what he said, Malcolm Jamal Warner said, was on point.
Capone, I'll come to you. Do you agree or disagree with Malcolm suggesting that, you know, that they're trying to preserve the white race?
I said that years ago. White population are decreasing every year, and they know it. The bad part about it is that it didn't just start. It started when they was raping our black women back then. They've been mixed breeding us, and eventually that mixture has taken over. And the sad part about it all is that you're trying to create something that you can't create no more. That's why we have, and I don't want to say the wrong word, the melanin, how you say
Melanin?
Melanin, yeah. They want that bad. They want that bad. They have kidnapped. They have taken women into private things, trying to get what melanin is, and they can't. Excuse me for saying the wrong word. It's hard for me to pronounce, but that's what it's all about. And eventually, we might not be living now, but racism will stop because everybody will be mixed. And these kids and millennium people are not going for that. It will stop.
Vanessa, I'll come to you next. You know, what are your thoughts on, of course, the video, but also Malcolm Jamal Warner suggesting that the reason that, you know, they're pushing this so hard or why they overturned it is to preserve the white race?
My thoughts on that is if it's a notion that's been going around for quite some time. You know, it's not anything new. It's nice that it is being spread, especially on in a mass way on the internet so that others can hear it. You know, I definitely have heard about, you know, as Capone was talking about, you know, this rainbow colored utopia, you know what I mean? One day, you know, that we probably won't be here to see. And you know, I can dig it, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, that definitely seems like where we're going, I guess, in all these conversations of the why, and these aren't new things that we have heard. I guess my thing is, what are we going to do about it? And knowing this and, you know, saying that, you know, you were saying it back in 2016, other people said it in whatever year the ISIS papers was made in 87 and all like this. Does it make you vote any differently? Does it make you get out there and want to do, you know, figure out some form of change within your own? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And me knowing or saying like they're trying to preserve the white race. How is that helping me to figure out a solution of, you know, how to help me as an individual, you know what I'm saying? Help us in our women's health. I get what you're saying about, oh, don't you believe that this is real or this is why they're doing it? But I'm trying to more talk about solutions and how, if we see these things happening, how we can stop them, because this is not what we want as a society. This is not what we want, you know, as a whole, as we see people out here protesting and rioting and so forth. So if we see these things, how can you?
Right. Yeah. And I think AOC talks on that. You know, I've been seeing a couple of her tweets where she's having these conversations about what we can do and what people in charge can do and how the Democrat Party can really take charge and expand, you know, whether it's expanding the Supreme Court and things like that. So I definitely think AOC is a great person to follow because she's providing a lot of those solutions